It would be I'd wake up in the middle of the night and think, I'm going to be a homeless lady with the bags.
Look, we're not here to sell you transformation. We're here to share some truths. Because this stage of life can sneak up on you in the best possible way.
There's a new quiet swagger that comes with it. One you earn simply by being you. We'll walk with you. You don't have to be anywhere else. Turns out it's good here. And sometimes it's even great. Aim with your heart, adjust with your head, and then simply do what you can with what you have from where you are.
Those are 23 words. And honestly, if we said nothing else this entire episode, that would be enough.
And just to reference where we got that from, because I wish we wrote it, but it was, I get the notes from the universe email every day. And that's what came through just this week. And it really struck me. And a quick note before we go into this episode, because it is on the topic of anxiety. And we just wanted to say, first off, 100%, we are not experts. And today we're not talking about any clinical anxiety or any trauma or anything diagnosed or serious. That needs proper expertise. And we don't for 1 minute want to say that we have the skills to do that. But I think a lot of us get caught in the everyday worry, you know, the 3 a.m. spiral when you think about your to-do list or your what ifs or the mental loops we run or the rent-free dramas that live in our heads. The disclaimer is that's what we're talking about today, because I know we all do this to ourselves, and that's the anxiety we really wanted to talk about, which is such a shame because that's the kind that you can do things about on your own or make the effort to change.
Well, you said something in there too about the 3 a.m. spiral. And I know that is a big thing for especially women as we get a little bit older in our 50s. That could be hormonal or whatnot. It is interesting on that point. There is a bit of research that actually says that our 50s are statistically the peak decade for anxiety.
That's wild.
Yeah. I'm not going to let it get to me too much, but
no,
it does explain
and it doesn't.
some
Yeah,
things.
and it doesn't mean it's the same for everyone. And thankfully, it's just a small block of years that it talks about. But the good news is that very quickly anxiety drops after this to the lowest level of any age group, according to the research. So if you're in that feeling of the 50s plus anxiety, but honestly, if you're in any moment in time where the day-to-day is bothering you, that can change tomorrow. And that's what we wanted to talk about. And definitely later on, Gay's going to give you her just straight to it way that she deals with it. Because when we spoke to her about this topic, it was really interesting. I just want to kind of prep you that she's had some really hard times. She's nursed her husband, the love of her life, as he died from cancer, and many other things, great financial losses, worries and things with her kids that were very important for her to look after. But she said to us, I don't really feel anxiety. So she unpacks what she does for the day-to-day anxiety again. And it's just really straight to it wisdom, which I think you're going to love.
It does, and it ties in really nicely to an author that you told me about as well.
Yes. So I've been hearing a lot of other podcasts over the last couple of years interview a really well-known author, Johann Hari. It's not his latest book, but he did write a book in 2018 called Lost Connections. And the thing that struck us from that is he talks about how anxiety can very much come from disconnection. Disconnecting perhaps from meaningful work, values, nature, a hopeful future, and the one that stuck out for us, disconnection from community.
Oh, huge.
And for me and for Heather, the through line of this podcast is community, and that when you have people around you that are your people, that you can trust, that are there no matter what, that don't judge you, that love you, that care for you, that for the day-to-day worries is amazing. I just moved house, and Heather, you did a couple of months ago as well. And we helped each other. And for me, I had this whole wonderful community that stepped in, whether it was to bring us dinner on the first night we moved, because that's the last thing you want to do. You can't even find a saucepan. So the lovely Louise came with the saucepan and all the bits ready to go for a beautiful dinner. And then the other friends, Heather, Liz, Gay, Louise, Tina, Peter, these friends that came and helped us pack and unpack and mount our TV. And
you have to talk about some of the unpacking.
Yeah, Gay's son, Adam, yes.
The unpacking of the box with the cockroach poo.
Oh, man. And see, this is friends and community.
Yeah.
We had a box of photos from when I was a little girl and photos of my mum and dad from years ago, and it was in a box in our garage for a long time. And so it came into that new house and the girls started unpacking it. And two things, cockroach poo littered throughout this box and a cockroach that ran out. And these two friends, Heather and Tina, I felt so bad. I'm like, just leave that box for me. But being the friends they are, they dealt with it for me.
You know you have a good community and friendships when we're wiping cockroach poo off photos.
Yeah. And that stuff would have spiraled me, I have to say. I would have been like just so irked by it. I was actually. And I think when it's not your thing, you just get into it. I think if it was yours, I would have been, like, don't worry, I got this, Heather. It's okay. It's stressful. Let me take this for you. Like when you moved, I came and unpacked your kitchen and I decided where everything went, just by the way. Because you were doing setting up your bed and all your trinkets and things so you had somewhere to sleep that night. And I just went, right, I am deciding where every item in your kitchen goes. You can move it later, but I'm going to choose right now.
But isn't that case in point, honestly, if you're by yourself and you're just moving house, for example, which is supposed to be one of the most stressful things in your life, right? If you're by yourself and you're doing that by yourself, you get worried, you get anxious, you spiral.
No, you do. And this is the type of exactly what we said at the start, the type of anxiety we're talking from. As you said, Heather, they say the top 5 things that are the most stressful in your life and moving's one of them.
There's something else that Johan speaks about too, outside of just meaningful work and community, but he also mentions the power of nature and being nature. And that's a big thing for me. During some of my hardest moments of my life, to be honest, I will just go lay out in the sun and just almost surrender to it, or walk in trees, or get barefoot on grass. And I've spoken to many interesting people over the years, interesting founders of businesses and academics, and there's a theme amongst them that they've shared with me in their moments of difficulty, and that is get into nature.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I've worked with health speakers as well.
Yeah.
And some of the wellness things that they talk about are sunshine, but the big one is when you're upset about anything, whether you've just had a fight with someone or, better yet, you are about to and you pause, which we talked about in last week's episode. But the one thing to do, no matter what, if you're unsure, if you're pacing the room, if you're about to write that email, if you're about to make that phone call and you're just not sure, or you're about to make a big decision or purchase something you're not sure you should spend, whatever it is, that day-to-day stuff, go for a walk. It literally solves most things. I think that's the problem with simple things. We underrate them. We ignore them. We think it's too hard. We won't do anything. We'll deal with it later. But for the day-to-day worries, those are the really important things, and definitely taking control by doing the things Heather was talking about, getting out into nature, but also making sure the people around you are the community and friends that you want around you. And if you don't have them, make it a priority to keep finding your people.
I do want to actually change gears a little bit and talk about what I said at the start of the podcast, which is, if sort of the 50s can be a more difficult time with worry. And there is actually data out there about that. We didn't just flippantly say it. There's a U-shaped curve sort of theory or studies out there, which is basically that life satisfaction dips and anxiety peaks specifically between 50 to 54, you guys. But good news is, as you pass through that age, anxiety drops to around 5%. And the older you get, it's the calmest age group of all, which I found really interesting because I don't know about you, Ellie, but I've always thought, the older I get, the harder things are going to be.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're told. And again, Gay is a living example of this. She talks about, and also I think it was in our last episode, she's the freest she's ever felt because she's finally worked out more of who she is. She has boundaries. She says no when she wants to, yes when she wants to. And has a life of her own choosing. And it's not because she's got financial wealth or all the other things that you might associate with those choices. She just lives life to the beat of her own drum, and she's a good friend, and she makes sure she has good friends as well.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I literally, funnily enough, I was just talking to, it's my birthday coming up, and I was talking to my oldest stepson's girlfriend this morning, who's also her birthday this week. And she's turning 25 and she's absolutely freaking out. She's like quarter life crisis and it's a thing. And she's like, I just feel like it's all going to go downhill from here. And I'm like, no, Izzy, it's not. I know this is a moment in time, but I think that's the key is like, we have to be careful what we listen to. Yes, there's science out there. There's moments in our life that can feel harder than others. But ultimately, there's always hope. There's a really great little belief around the body keeps the score.
I hope I say his name right, but it's a very well-known book by Bessel van der Kolk. And it's like they call it a modern Bible on how anxiety lives in the body, not just the head. And so that's really powerful because it's like literally you're letting things live in your cells. And they are impacting you far more than you think. Obviously, you understand how they affect how you feel, the 3 a.m. worry list or the doom scrolling. You know how that makes you feel, but your body is actually keeping the score. And that could have really detrimental health effects. And that's what Bessel talks about. I know you had something you wanted to share about that.
Yeah, for sure. So, we have these phases in our life where we struggle, maybe a hard year. And I was going through a bit of a time. And I was also seeing a therapist at that time. And the most random, weirdest thing happened to me where a client of mine triggered me. And I was already on edge and I was in a flight, fight, response mode. And I went really spiraling and it wasn't very fun. And I went to my therapist and she's like, you're not even breathing properly. She's like, we have to get you back into your body.
It's so true. That's what you start ruminating, pacing.
I wasn't breathing. I didn't see this, right?
No.
And so she did this exercise with me where she had me like a grounding exercise, for lack of a better word. But ultimately, Ellie, I guess she put me back into my body because I was in my thoughts, and she grounded me back into my body through breath work. And it was just a fascinating moment, like a switch I was able to turn off and on through this exercise from living in fight, flight for an entire week to breathing again and going, wow, how did I get here?
And I think you said that was done in minutes. You felt different. There's something, it reminds me, it's called the 5 things or something like that, or the 5 senses. And first you have to like touch 2 things, feel touch. And then it's see 3 things, hear, what's 4 things you can hear.
That's it.
And it makes you, so you're tapping into your 5 senses.
Yep,
so what you can touch, taste, see, feel, hear, and it makes you stop this process. It's a well-known thing. You can research it on the internet. It is to ground you back. I didn't know you were going to say that, but I've heard that before. And we're talking about the day-to-day worries, but just to say I have also suffered from bouts of more scary anxiety when really big things have happened in my life and they've debilitated me. So I have had that, and I do understand a version of that. And I've had to, breathing was a big issue for me. I literally thought I was going to die. I could not breathe. So I get that. So I had to do something like this as well. And I did also need to talk to a therapist.
Yeah.
So I get it. But I wanted to share something really different because we're always looking at alternative ways of looking at things. I haven't told you what I want to share because this isn't like your obvious thought when you sit down to do a podcast on anxiety, but I like to talk about things like the quote that we shared at the beginning was something that I saw just in the last 24 hours. I like to see what's happening right now and think, oh, what can I learn from that? Wouldn't be an obvious place to look for. So what it is, I have just been binging the Kylie Minogue documentary, which just came out at the time of recording, it came out on Netflix this week. and it was highly recommended. And honestly, whether you like Kylie's music or not, I happen to. I think it's great. But just hearing her story was amazing. So on a side note, so worth watching. And you know what? What you see as the glossy outside, the suffering that she endured from the external comments and things going on is quite incredible to watch. I was really just touched by how she pursued through all of that. But I wanted to share something specific. Heather started watching it, but she hasn't got to this yet. So there's all these things I didn't realize. So Kylie did some work and some songs. I don't know a lot about it, but with Nick Cave. And I don't know a lot about him either, but a little bit I did, and then it showed through the documentary that he and his band were quite dark. And this is by his own words. They were quite cynical and they saw life from a dark lens and they weren't really positive. And so that was why it was quite weird. It was quite a weird pairing and people couldn't see it. But he just saw something in her. And he said something that really struck me, because he said, like, we literally woke up and saw life as stupid and things that happened pointless, and we were just not happy people. And he said the first time she walked into the recording studio, she called her a ray of light who truly loved life, and that he'd never met anyone before who truly loved life. And he commented that he and his band did not love life. And so he said that, and that was really lovely, of course. But then a few minutes later, he said, you know what, spending time with her, I started to see that life was good and worthwhile. So he said something like that. And the reason it struck me, again, it goes back to just how much the people around you can change what you think. And this one girl, Kylie, this ray of light who showed him how to love life, this guy who thought life was dark, and if you'd sing about dark things and you think dark things, and the last thing you expect is Kylie Minogue to come in and make this guy see life differently. And I'm sure it was the last thing he expected or that we all expected. And it just really struck me that this one moment, this one person changed his outlook on life. And I love that.
This is where we share voices worth listening to on today's topic. Good to know. Up next.
Hi, I'm Tina Broad. I'm based on the south coast of New South Wales. I'm a long-time music education advocate. I've lobbied hard for more music in our schools and in community settings like nursing homes, hospitals, palliative care. And for about the last 10 years or so, I've been running my own singing program called Sing Express. It's designed to get people who might think they can't sing, which I think is a myth anyway, or who might have loved singing as a child, perhaps they haven't been doing it anymore. They might even be carrying a lot of baggage about having sung in childhood. And I'm about getting them back into singing, because the health benefits, the social benefits, community-wide benefits of singing together are absolutely miraculous, actually. In terms of using singing in my own life to manage my own nervous system, well, it's been a really important part of my own self-regulation and self-soothing, actually. If I can just hum like that, I can feel resonance in my body. It drops my breath to down here. I find I'm not doing this. Singing relies on listening to others. It relies on breath control. It doesn't have to be technically excellent singing, but in order to sing and to sing together, there are amazing things that we need to do with our hearts, souls, and minds in order to do that. So that's why I'm kind of zealous about the benefits of singing. I've felt it in my own life. I've seen it when I work with groups. There's something profound that happens when a whole lot of women get together and decide that they're actually going to make a lot of noise, and they're going to make a lot of beautiful noise. What a metaphor if we just all got together and made a commitment to have fun, to be empowered, to give ourselves permission to be creative. It's pretty amazing. Do you know that when we sing, they've done all sorts of research on this, and our cortisol, the stress hormone, our levels of cortisol fall. Our heart rates synchronize, believe it or not. Endorphins, the feel-good chemicals, they get expressed. It's incredible. Both hemispheres of our brain light up when we're in, for example, a choir situation. So yeah, just so many benefits. I guess the takeaway then is if you can get together with others and sing, do it. Sing on your own. Pump your playlist up and sing along. It will just be so good for you.
Every episode, we pause for wisdom from someone who's been through it and learned a thing or two. Here's a word from the wise.
Until we lost the house and all the money and all those things, but even then I wasn't going, oh. It would be, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and think, I'm going to be a homeless lady with the bags. And, the catastrophizing of that, right? Because I go from nothing to that. 0.00 of a second, right? And then from back to that, oh no, that can't really happen, so just go back to sleep. And then, of course, I trained myself to go day by day because there's nothing you can do about it till, you can do little steps, but you can't do major things about it. So you just got to get on with it. And I did. I trained my mind to today's the day, today's this day, it'll take care of itself, and tomorrow will be what it is, because you can project to tomorrow and the next day and whatever. And it never is like that, is it? It never is. People are the most important things, really, aren't they? People and your friendships and your family, especially your family.
So guys, if today's episode hit your heart, then take the quote that we began this episode with. And I'm just going to read it again because I think it's so beautiful. Aim with your heart, adjust with your head, do what you can with what you have from where you are. That's it.
And next week, we are going to talk about curiosity and why staying open about people and life might be the most underrated superpower we have. Turns out, something good might be closer than you think.